Hey, Popstars, welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us. This week's podcast is brought to you by Holler and Associates. If you ever find yourself in a legal bind of any kind, they're available for you 24/7 and can help. That's Holler and Associates. For more info, check them out at lincoln.lawyer.legal. Tammy, if you could have any job dealing with the law, what would it be?
Mm. Any job?
Any job.
Huh. Oh gosh, that's you know what? Um, what's the one with the most power?
Um, Politics or law? Intertwining them or what?
You know what? I'd probably go for local or state politics.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, they're the ones behind the scenes making all of those decisions that change all our lives.
Yeah, the most
Or maybe
powerful.
attorney general. I like attorney general of a state, not federal, but
Of
of
a
a
state.
state.
Yeah, the most powerful political position in the country, believe it or not, is Speaker of the House. Um,
I would
but
say Mitch McConnell's job, but yeah, go ahead.
no, Speaker of the House, they control the purse, and everything has to go through the House. But the majority in the majority leader of the Senate is not a bad gig, but the Speaker of the House, they're third in line for presidency. Everything pretty much runs through them. So yeah, that's the job. But I think, well, I kind of want to run the gamut. Like, law school's always my forever plan B. But so a lawyer, probably work both sides of it, but I would love to be a judge. I think that would be kind of cool being a judge. Or I don't know I don't know if I have the tact to be a politician. Um, but yeah, I think it'd be cool. Or I would like to be um the gatekeeper, like someone's chief of staff. That would be cool. But anyway, so this week we catch up with our show sponsor, Mickey Holler and Associates, with season 2 of The Lincoln Lawyer, currently streaming on Netflix. Season 2 catches up with Mickey on the heels of his successful comeback um, after his hottest case. He is now the hottest lawyer in LA and really trying to figure out how to deal with his success and attention while trying to stay sober. After hitting it off with a beautiful chef, he finds himself having to cook up a defense on her for murder charges. So, Tammy, what did you think of season 2 of The Lincoln Lawyer? Did it put up a good defense or was it a case of legal malpractice?
I loved it. I loved it. It can sometimes be rare for me to love a season 2. Because you always got that season 2 slump where it just the whole standards of the show just goes down because they just can't hit the same mark. But it kept me interested. Like I was still like I tried to wait until all 10 episodes were out and I just couldn't. Like I couldn't. I started with the first 5 that were released in July, and then as soon as the 5 for that was released on Thursday, I had to watch it. Like I couldn't wait for all 10 to be released. It was just a lot of excitement on like, is it gonna be as good? So I really, really enjoyed it. And of course we'll get into the details of why and how, but I did enjoy it. What about you, Eddie?
Yeah, I really loved it, and I have to agree. I really loved how it continued on the success and the threads of season 1. Excuse me, and I kind of notate the same thing. It's really rare that a show doesn't suffer from the sophomore slump and then kind of find its way. Especially a show that I think was kind of like a surprise hit. And this is Netflix, so you learn, being a Netflix watcher, not to get too invested in Netflix shows, no matter how good they are, because Netflix is going to find a way to Netflix it up. Um, But yeah, so and hopefully, sidebar, that is something. That's what I did there. Sidebar. That is something that I hope they can fix with the strike is getting Netflix to um, be more all in on their shows. But anyway, I really did love season two, and you know me. If everything's going to be released all at once, then I'd rather just watch it all at once. But so I didn't realize in July that when the first half of the season came out, that it was just that they were releasing it in two parts. So I did watch it in July, and I was like, and I'm so mad. I get to the end. I'm like, there's only five. I have to wait for part two. But it was well worth the wait. It was really really good, and like I said, it did not skip a beat from season one. There's a very small, like I said, time lapse in between season one and season two, but it's just enough. And then I loved how they actually continued some of the stories that were started, like some of the B stories, maybe the BC stories that were started in season one. They kind of picked up those threads and continued them on in season two, which we can get into later. But yeah, I absolutely love the character of Mickey Holler, and I know we talked about it when we did the first season. I love how they took him back to their roots and they casted a Mexican American to play him. And I love the actor Manuel Garcia-Rulfo. I'm sure I'm messing up his name. Sorry. No offense intended. But I love the actor who plays him. I think he does a great job as Mickey Holler. And I even went back and I watched the original movie with Matthew McConaughey. It was on something, and so I watched it. And I'm like, it's good. It's still good in its own right. But I think between the show and the movie, I think I'm gonna have to give it to the series. Just the movie is what it is, and then the series is what it is. But if I have my preference between the two, I think I'm gonna go with the series just because you're able to get a little bit more in detail, and you get a little bit more time with Mickey Holler, and you get to see a little bit more of his life. So I think I enjoyed that, the deep dive into it. But anyway, so what are some of the things that you really liked about this season? Like, did you like the big overall case, the big story?
I did, and I was as invested as with the first season with the Elliot guy and his I guess murder mystery that went on with that, with his wife and his wife's lover. And so I was just as invested. I will say I was with Lorna from the beginning. I was with second wife from the beginning because the woman who was on trial, it always seemed like something was off with her. Always seemed like something. I was like, Lorna, I'm with you, girl. Like, she don't seem 100. She don't seem 100. I don't know what it is, but she don't seem 100 at all. So the ending did shock me a little bit, not because it ultimately showed what she was guilty of, but or that she was guilty of something, but what she was actually guilty of, because it didn't click in my head. Like, I knew that even when the verdict came out, I knew there was something still off about that woman, but I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, it definitely threw me. So I really love the overall arc of the series, like that part. I loved how, and I loved it in the first season. I believe I talked about it in the first season. I love it even more in the second season. I love the relationship that Mickey has with his two wives and his daughter. Like, I love it. And I swear, like, you would think that Izzy was like his third wife on, or his best friend, probably his best friend. But I just love like that whole relationship. Like, it is a weird family dynamic that your two wives are like your best friends in the whole wide world. And then the person who also works for you as your investigator is your second wife's fiance that she's going to get married to. And I'm just like, I was like, that's such a weird dynamic. But at the same time, I have seen it actually happen in real life, where mixed and blended families just get along and they just, vibe. So it's just the overall like feel and vibe of the show. It was still there second season as it was first season. I like the B stories. I agree with you on that. But the overall arc, like, it was really, really good. It was really it wasn't down moments, and it wasn't like boring at least not to me. Like I was never bored with the main storyline, like the main case that they were going through these 10 episodes. Like I want to see like, okay, how is this going to play out every single episode. So that was really great.
Yeah. Wow, we're agreeing a lot today. Yeah, I have to agree. Like, the relationships between Mickey and his circle are really amazing, and I think that to me, aside from the legal, the legal shenanigans and the legal hoops and all of that kind of stuff, I think that really is the heart and soul of the show. Are those relationships? I love, and you would think because and I think we kind of hit on it a little bit in season one, but when someone usually has people in their phone as wife one and wife two, you think, oh God, that they're just going to have these contentious relationships. Like they hate them so much that they don't even want to put their name in the phone. It's just wife one and wife two, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's not the case, and that's how he still has them in his phone, and it's kind of endearing, especially once you see that he really does get along with both women and he really does love them just differently. Um, but like you said, they are a family, and Holler and Associates, from Cisco to Izzy, they're like his extended family. They are his family. You have Maggie and his daughter, you have Lorna, and you have Cisco and Lorna, and you have Izzy, who he and Izzy, I think they have become each other's best friends, kind of like sober coaches, accountability coaches. Like he and Izzy have just this relationship, just this intimacy that he doesn't have with the other two. And maybe it's because of their sobriety, and that they can talk, like they understand that thing about each other more than anyone else. And I think that's what kind of makes it work, you know. And it shows that. And I loved how much he trusted her. Like when he was in the hospital and he was like, I'm gonna have them take me off, and she's like, no, you can't, you're in too much pain. And he's like, but I don't want to get hooked again. And she was telling him, well, look, tell them what the problem is. They can slowly wean you off, but don't just quit cold turkey. And he trusted her to do that. And then when he got out the hospital and he had the Vicodin that they'd given him, he gave it to her, and he told her, hey, I'm trusting you to do this to me. You make sure that I take only what I need to take when I need to take it. And then you see her setting the alarm as they're driving around, and she gives him the pills, and she's like, you're trusting me with this? And he's like, I trust you more than anyone. And I was just like, wow. So it just goes to show that depth, and like how each relationship, how it's so different, but but each one is so crucial to him. And how it, and so I was just like, I love that dynamic, and I think it's really special how they've created that and how they've captured that. And like I said, I've never really read the books, so I don't know if it's something that carries over, if it's something that truly carries over from the books. But the way, and even if it is or isn't, the way that it's portrayed on screen, the way that they've written it, and the actors put it out on screen, it's really, really good. They do a really good job with that, and I love it. And I also love the introduction of his mother. For some reason, I don't know why, I thought his mom had passed away too. Um, and I knew that she was a Mexican actress, but it didn't click on me that she was still alive. But his mom was a trip and a half. Like, did you like his mom?
She was a true Mexican diva. I will say that much.
It was like, and one of the funniest things is like when he was like, "No, mama," when she was like, she had to go to her audition. He's like, "I will get you an Uber." Izzy can't just drive you around. Like, I'm in downtown LA and you're all the way out in Burbank with traffic. That's gonna be hours. I'll just get you an Uber. And she looks at him, and then it shows them both in the back seat. And then later on that day when he's talked to Izzy, Izzy is like, she has been around all parts of LA, from Santa Monica to Burbank to just everywhere. And then he was like, Izzy, you're not her personal chauffeur. Just tell her no. She's like, have you met your mother?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I was just like, oh God. So I did love his mom. It was so cute. And then she was like, when she went up to his daughter, and she was like, I'm sorry your mother abandoned you. And I'm like, what? So yeah, but his mom was. I hope if we get a season 3, I hope we see more of Mama. She was plenty. Um, but yeah, as far as the overall case, I love the overall case. I'm with you. Old girl was off. Like she her vibe was just it didn't connect. But I wasn't surprised. I knew, spoiler alert, I knew she wasn't guilty of what they had been charging her of, but I knew that whatever she had done, it had something to do with her husband. So when that reveal came out, I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised. What surprised me was the fact that she thought Mickey would be okay with it. I'm like, do you not know the man who just spent all this time defending you? Like, I was just like, you really thought she was going to be okay with it?
She
Like,
did.
I was like, yeah. And so, but then the other part that kind of made sense is when Lorna and Izzy were talking, and Lorna was like, she thinks that she is the one that had Mickey beat up in the garage. Because the first part of the season ends on that cliffhanger with Mickey being beat up in the garage, and that's how he ends up in the hospital. And I was like, huh. And once Lorna explained it, it kind of made sense, especially when you go back to that part where Mickey was in the hospital and he's like, ultimately, I'm going to be okay. They didn't go for my nose. They didn't go for my face. They didn't go for anything really crucial. He was like, they could have messed me up a lot more than what they did. They were just doing this to send a message. And I'm like, huh. So when Lorna explained it, it kind of made sense when I put two and two together. What did you think?
Oh yeah. Oh, I was. Didn't I just say I was with Lorna 100%? Like when she was explaining, I said, "Oh, it was her." I said it was her, and I'm mad at her because I'm like, look, I pretend like I'm letting that go, but you remember when Mickey made the threat to the guy who killed the prostitute?
Mm-hmm.
When he thought that he had Mickey all set up and everything like that, and Mickey was like, and I'll let you know right now that I have clients in all the prisons in this state.
Who owe
Try
me?
me and see how far you
Yes.
get. And I was just
Yes.
like, so Lorna, we just gonna let her get away with this? We not gonna do nothing about this? Like she tried to she and granted, yes, she wasn't trying to kill him, but I'd be the one plotting revenge. Like, I'm sorry, you put this man in a hospital to the point where, because in my head, I'd be like, nobody thought about it. If you didn't notice, like nobody questioned how he was gonna do the pain. Like Maggie and Lorna, like it was like in the storyline, the focus was just on him and Izzy figuring out how he was gonna deal with the pain. Like nobody else really addressed like his pain threshold and the fact of saying that he was gonna be put on the same drugs that he got addicted to when he got hurt the first time, kind of thing. But with them, like, like she also messed with his sobriety. Yes, granted, she didn't know about it, but she could have messed with his sobriety because he had to be put on the drugs in order to deal with the pain from her. I said Lorna needs to put a hit out on her in prison. I'm just saying.
Yeah, like so she she was crazy, and it was like, dang. And I think even because even from the beginning, just how evasive and how dodgy she was about her ex-husband, especially when he kept saying, we need to talk to him, we need to talk to him. And I'm like, something told me from like the very beginning, I'm like, that motherfucker dead, and she probably had something to do with it. I was just like, yeah. And so I'm with you. Like I said, I'm with you and Lauren. Even when I thought like she was just, it was just. And hats off to Lana Parilla. I probably mispronounced her name. Sorry, but I loved her ever since Once Upon a Time when she played the Wicked Witch or the Evil Queen.
Evil
Did
Queen.
you the Evil Queen? Did you watch that show?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've loved her since then, and so it's she played Lisa with such she was that perfect. I don't know. I can't really think of how to say it, but she was the perfect walking embodiment of a red herring. You know, um, it's like you say, she played Icky so well, like just bad vibes. Like you don't quite know she's that person where she seems nice enough, you know, And from that perspective, she's beautiful. She's a chef. She's an up and coming chef. She owns her own restaurant. She's a community activist. Like, she would check all those boxes of good person. But the more you get to know her, it's like the more the vibe is off, you know? And then I guess you could think like, well, Lorna, because she's so protective of Mickey and how she was with Izzy when she first got there. Like, Lorna was the last one to really warm up to Izzy just because of how protective she is. It's kind of like you want to say, oh, she's just protective of any new person that comes into Mickey's life. But I'm with you. I'm like, no, I'm riding with Lorna on this one. like Homegirl was just off all the way through. So, like I said, even though I knew she wasn't guilty of what she was on trial for, I'm like, oh, it had whatever she did, it had something to do with her ex-husband. I'm like, so it wasn't the money. It was basically you didn't want them digging up that restaurant and finding his body.
That's exactly what it was.
I was just like, wow. So yeah, but uh and and Lorna, I guess she did get her revenge because Lorna's the one who turned her in. Nikki's like, I'm an attorney. She's like, I'm not one, not yet. So hey, let the chips fall where they may. And he's like, and you called the police? And she's like, no, I called a cop. I guess the one that they trusted, the one that they had the good relationship with. So Mickey, Mickey could be like, keep me out of it. Speaking of which, what did you think of Yaya DaCosta as the new DA, as Andy?
Yo, I'm ready for those vibes.
You picked up on that too?
Did you feel those vibes, Eddie?
I did.
That ending when they were just staring at each other like they were trying to figure out who was going to leave first or who's going to walk away first. And I was just like, because, okay, so during that moment, even though I knew something was off with Lisa, and because I couldn't figure it out, I was just like, okay, like the verdict came in, she's good. I was just like, okay. And then they slept together. So I'm just like, oh, are they gonna like take this deeper with him before he like finds out her iffiness? And so when what was her name? Andrea, I think it was.
Andy, yeah.
Yeah. And so when Andy like came in and she gave him, at first, you know what I thought she was gonna do? I thought she was trying to join his law firm. And so I was just like, ooh, that would be nice. That would be nice. But then they would be fighting over who name come first. But but then when she was like, she just gave him the mug or whatever like that. And I was just like, ooh, could you see although I felt the vibes, Andy and his first wife are like real good friends, like almost best friends level. I was just like, could you see that? You got vibes with your first wife's best friend, even though you're still in love with your first wife, but knowing that y'all are never gonna truly be together. But yeah, I felt the vibes. I liked her though. Like, I like how strong she was. Yaya's not the strongest actress. I will say that. She's never been the strongest actress. But whatever role she's given, because she's usually given a role that's kind of like along the same lines, she does very well in the role that she has. So, and I don't think you have to be a like an absolute strong actress. Like, you don't have to be a Meryl Streep to play a role, as long as you make the role your own. And I think that's what she did. So I think she did a good job for it. And I can't wait to see her if they get a third season in the future.
Yeah, well, I think, considering that she's one of the few America's Next Top Models that actually made it out of that shit show, that shit show of a show, with something to show for it later. I think, I give her props for at least surviving that. But she has definitely improved, her acting over time. And I was really surprised, and kind of excited to see what role she would play, when they announced that she was going to be in the second season. And I was like, okay. And I'm glad that she had more of a major role in the season. And I think that she and, like I said, the actor, they had great chemistry. Andy and Andy and Mickey definitely were vibing. And I don't know if it's just like that competition like thing that they have, that chemistry, but it's there. And it would not surprise me if even in the books, or if the character is in the books or whatever, if eventually something does happen between them, right? Because they just, they just have it, and I loved how she gave him a run for his money. You know, this is like the first time in 10 tries that he's ever beaten her. Like, she is the one attorney who he always loses to. So it was just like, wow, you know. And I love that. Like, she's not afraid of Mickey Holler and all of that. And so I would love to see um, I would love to see her, and definitely in more seasons. And um, I think that would be kind of cool. So speaking of it, you brought it up, Maggie, the closure. Is it closure? Is it over? Is it the end?
Um, I think what I will say is I understand what Maggie was saying. Because like I always tell people, I said that's one of the reasons I actually moved to Texas, is to separate myself from a similar situation. And so I'm like, I fully understand when she says like, I love you. And he's like, we love each other. And she's like, I know, I love you. You love me. She said, but we do not work. Like, we can acknowledge the fact that we love each other and acknowledge the fact that we do not work, because his moral compass is different from hers. And even though she loves who he is as a person, they're not on the same level when it comes to the moral compass, what she's willing to tolerate, what she's willing to turn a blind eye to. She just does not have that in her. And so I understood it. So I think that I would like it if they were done. If it's kind of like she becomes a fixture in his life like Lorna is, right? Like, you know, that because him and Lorna love each other. It's just there's a whole nother history there. But it's where, you know, they love each other. You know, if they could be together, they would be together. But at the end of the day, they don't work. And I fully got that when she said it. And so I would hope that they would figure out another path to go down rather than jumping back onto that bandwagon. Because that's one reason why she moved to San Diego. And I think that's one reason why she took the job, is to get away from him. Not because be like, oh, you know, because you're horrible or whatever, because she knew if she stayed in Los Angeles with him, that she would continue to fall into bed with him. Like, she would continue to fall into the same patterns. And they've seen multiple times that it just doesn't work out. So I would hope that they're able to move on from that. Especially seeing as how they're able to sleep with other people, even though they love each other. So I'm just like, let's continue that. Let's continue that.
Yeah, and I think also because, you know, going back to season one, and one of the things that we're dealing with the fallout is that when she helped him with her case, it kind of tanked her career. It stalled her, and then it wasn't bad enough that they moved her out of, you know, the central office for district attorney. They moved her to one of the satellite offices, and they were still fucking her over and giving her the worst jobs and worst assignments. And her being a trooper, she was still trying to, you know, do her best on those jobs, and they were still, you know, just giving her the shit for it. So, personally, I think, you know, because I think wasn't one of the offers she had like in San Francisco or something. Um, so I think also, you know, part of the reason she stays because she didn't want to just totally relocate her daughter, because she knows the relationship that Mickey and Haley have. And so I think San Diego was a great compromise. She gets a new start, she gets a fresh start professionally, which meant a lot to her. And I understand that. And she also gets a fresh start personally. And I agree, like sometimes it is just the distance that you need to fully get over someone, to let your feelings settle and get to the point where, yes, they can accept that, hey, we will always love each other, but we know that this just doesn't work. And like you said, we have to get out of each other's orbit, because the more we see each other, the more we do pickups, the more we hang out with each other, you know, just in these family moments. We are really close. We are family. We are best friends. We don't have this contentious relationship. I don't want to have to hate you to get over you. That's not fair to any of us. So I thought it was really mature, and it was kind of sad because you saw, and it was one of those cases where you've seen the best. We haven't seen the absolute worst, but we know we got glimpses of the reasons why they don't work, of what she was saying. But when it was good with them, it was really, really good, because like some of my favorite moments of the season were them as a family, like when they were playing Monopoly in the room, when they were having just dinner together or something like that. That was really good. But you saw a lot of times it was either fighting or when Haley wasn't involved with the two of them, it was either fighting or fucking with them. You know, they have those really tender moments where they would talk and it leads to the sex, or they have those moments where they try to talk and it just leads to an argument. So I think they did a great job of showing why they don't why they don't work, but also of what it's like when it does work. So when it was good, it was good, but when it wasn't, it wasn't. So I'm with you. I really love Nev Campbell, and I hope we see her again as Maggie. But I don't necessarily think that they are in game. You know, so I think San Diego was a good choice, a good compromise. He still gets to see his daughter. It's not far from LA at all. So, you know. Um, what did you think about some of the B stories? I love the B stories. I wish we could have gotten a little bit more of them in the second part of the season, but I know that as the case was getting closer to an end, that was going to become more of the primary focus, especially as the stakes got higher. But did you have any favorite B stories from the beginning or from the season?
I like the teenage one
Yes, that was a good one.
because I'm not necessarily because I feel like I'm on her side as a protective, like I would be like a protective parent for it. But at the same time, like I'm dragging you because you know what you did, you shouldn't have done. But anyway, but I thought that was a really, really cute story. I like that Cisco's story was complete, like, figured out a way to like just end it and ultimately like reveal to Lorna, which made me love their relationship even more on how, he was honest with Lorna. Um, I also like I think it was more on the human aspects of the B stories. Although I will say, I used to be a huge Young and the Restless fan. Huge. And so it was really, really nice to see one of my favorite characters from the Young and the Restless. He played the guy who killed the prostitute and then tried to trick Mickey. And so it was really, really nice to just see him in a, I guess, prime time, we would call it a show. Uh, but yeah, but like I like the B stories, but I also like the fact that they never took away. Like they did make me so invested that I wanted them to be the main story. So once again, I will continue to say it. They did a fantastic job on the pacing of the second season, on how the storylines went, because you were still fully interested in Lisa's story and her case, even as you got to know some of the side characters along the way.
Yeah, and it's true, especially if you're a one man firm. He does, I think, well, Lorna will probably be his full time associate once she passes the bar and stuff like that. But I loved how you could see that, hey, it's just him in this law firm. He is picking up. He is very loyal to his clients, and that's why they keep coming back. But so I love the B stories in this, right? Like if you're that type of lawyer, most lawyers they do have to know how to multitask, especially if they're running their own firm where they have more than one case at a time. So I love that we get to see that, and then kind of as the big major case is picking up, everything kind of falls by the wayside because so they brought in those temps who know nothing, which I thought was so funny, but or the weird temps or whatever. But so I really like that. But yeah, I love the story about the I called her the Karen shop owner, and then and I loved how it turned out that Mickey, and not only did he get the girl an apology and a charges drop, but she ended up getting paid off of it.
Yeah.
So it was like she actually helped you out, and so I love that. I love the story. I'll get into that one in a second. And then what was another one? Gosh, I guess that was it, but I was going to say that one. But I love the one about the guy the serial killer. and Glory Days. And so, like, Glory Days was one of the characters from the first season. We kind of caught up with her a little bit. And then at the end, and so I know that he couldn't have done it because he's in jail, but now, so I'm thinking if we get a season three, that it'll be about what happened to Glory Days because he really did like her. And it's like, how did she get, like, was she, it makes you wonder, was she ever really in Hawaii? Did she just go for a little bit, get the postcard, and come back? Like, when did she come back? So I think that is going to be really interesting to see what happened with her. And yeah, but I think those were mainly the ones. And I love all his legal tricks. Like, I love the way they served a subpoena on Grant. Like, they went through, that was like masterful. Like, and then the guy that they had to go, the scammer, who was just like, what? I'm like, they were like, that's not even your dog. And he goes, it's my cousin's dog. He gets a piece of what I make. And I'm like, oh God. So, but yeah. Okay. So is there anything else that you really love that we didn't mention about this
No, I
season?
think I summed it up on what was the positives, and there weren't too many negatives. I can't really name any off the top of my head that I would just like want to like turn off or change up of the series. So yeah, we can get to it.
Well, hopefully, I'm all for a third season, and I'm just gonna go out on a limb and assume that you would be too.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything in particular you would want to see from a third season?
No.
No.
No. I would just like to continue to see the same vibe from the first and second season.
Yeah, me too. But I also really, really, I kind of like, I hope that whatever happened to Glory Days could kind of be like the main, because I know she was a big client of his, and he really liked her. But so I would love to see, figure out what happened to Glory Days, and also love to see how Grant, the developer guy, is going to fuck up his life and make his life miserable, because he cost Grant a whole lot of money and got the FBI even more involved in his business. So I know that that's not just gonna die. So season two kind of ended on a cliffhanger. It's season and Netflix, as far as they've released streaming data, it's had over 1 billion minutes worth of views. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's a success. I think it's the second show behind Suits on Netflix right now, number two. So hopefully, after the writer's strike is over and the actor strike, after they resolve those things, hopefully we will get an announcement for a season three of the Lincoln Lawyer. All right. So what are you going to rate the Lincoln Lawyer season two?
I'm gonna rate the Lincoln Lawyer first of the year, 5 popcorns. Like I said, I really, really enjoyed it. I anticipated, I couldn't even wait for the full 10. I had to watch the first 5 and then wait a couple weeks for the second 5. And it was good. Like, it kept me interested. I binge watched the whole entire time for the 5 episodes that were split. So I'm gonna give it 5 popcorns. Really enjoyed it, and I suggest everybody sit down and do a binge watch of the Lincoln Lawyer season 1 and season 2. What about you, Eddie?
I am going to give it 4.25 popcorns. I loved it. It's a show that I recommend to everyone. They like legal shows or get something to watch. The Lincoln Lawyer is that show, and like I said, it's rare that a show has the same continuity from season one to season two, and it's really good. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised because it is a David E. Kelly show, so But anyway, yeah, definitely recommend. So that does it for this week's episode of the Popcorn Winedown. Please be sure to like, listen, follow, comment anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Also, keep up to date on the latest in entertainment and pop culture news, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at the popcornwinedown.com. That's it. That's the plug. Pop, pop,
Pop,
pop,
pop, pop,
pop,
pop, pop.
pop. Thank you as always, and be sure to join us next week when we review season two of another favorite from season one, and that was Heartstopper, which is also currently streaming on Netflix. So until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace.